You close your eyes and drift into the thought of a coastline far away. The Red Sea lies beneath a heavy velvet sky, a sky wide enough to swallow every question you have ever carried. The air there is still, almost too still, as though the world is waiting. Above this quiet stretch of water, high above where no fisherman's net could ever reach, a single drone circles slowly. It does not hum to your ears here, yet in your mind you sense its rhythm, like a second heartbeat pulsing against the silence. And before we drift deeper together, please let us know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Somewhere, another listener is awake beneath a different sky, hearing this same story, sharing this same moment. That thought alone connects you across distance, a reminder that mystery is always shared. You breathe, slow and even. You imagine the darkness, a faint curve of horizon, the distant lights of ships scattered like faint stars across the sea. And then, higher still, a watchful machine, an MQ-9 Reaper. It looks with eyes of sensors, not of flesh. It tracks, it records, and in this moment, it captures something more mysterious than the pilots expected. This is not science fiction. It is not a dream you conjure on restless nights. It is a testimony, documented and played within the walls of Congress in September 2025. But tonight, you're not in a hearing room. You're in the hush of night itself, replaying the moment slowly like a lullaby carried on the wind. The orb appears first as a light, a small glowing sphere gliding above the waters off Yemen's coast. It does not announce itself with noise. It does not roar like jets or hum like drones. It moves with quiet assurance, steady against the backdrop of an endless sky. You picture it, pale, almost soft, as if its glow were borrowed from the moon. The drone follows, it observes, its recording becomes our window, and you, lying here with your breath calm and steady, lean closer to the memory of that night. The orb continues on its path, smooth, unhurried, as if no human eyes were upon it. Yet eyes were watching, machines were tracking, and choices were made. From another Reaper drone comes a decision, a missile, a hellfire, known to split targets in two, known to end what it touches. You whisper the word in your thoughts, gently, as if the sound itself could disturb the stillness. Hellfire, a sharp name, but in this story, softened by distance. You see it in your mind, leaving the drone, streaking silently toward its mark. You hold your breath, and in that held breath the mystery deepens. For in the footage the missile does not shatter the orb, it does not burst into light or scatter fragments into the sea. Instead, the orb continues, it endures, as though wrapped in silence, as though what struck it were no more than a passing breeze. The missile's energy seems to vanish, leaving only the mystery intact. You feel the strangeness of that moment settle into you. Not frightening, not harsh, but unsettling in its calm. A thing that should have ended did not. A force that should have destroyed simply touched and slipped away. The orb glides onwards. Its glow is steady, its path unbroken. Your thoughts wander, soft and unhurried. How many times have we been told that nothing extraordinary exists? How many times has the sky been called ordinary, safe, or familiar? And yet here, in the stillness above Yemen, the sky carried something beyond explanation. The clip was shown, witnesses spoke, and still, the orb remains unanswered. You lie with this knowledge as though it were a blanket draped across you, heavy with mystery but soft against the skin. The hearing in Washington was filled with words, national security, transparency, accountability. But tonight, you do not need the language of policy. Tonight you need only the quiet image, a sphere of light moving untouched, a missile falling away, and the sea below whispering its endless tide. You allow yourself to drift deeper into this vision. Imagine the drone's eye circling slowly, recording, unable to interfere beyond what had already been tried. Imagine the operators far away, staring at their screens, perhaps disbelieving what they saw. Their weapons did not succeed. Their target did not fall. The orb simply carried on. In your own breath you carry the rhythm of that persistence. Inhale, steady. Exhale gently. The orb does not break, neither do you. The night is wide. The stars are countless. And somewhere within that width, The orb remains. You think of George Knapp, the journalist who sat in testimony, and described it in his own calm way. He called it a missile smacking into a UFO and bouncing off. His words were blunt, almost simple, but behind them lay decades of work of chasing the paper trail that insisted these mysteries were real. Tonight, you need not chase. You need only rest within the knowing that something endured against the fire. Others confirmed it. Witnesses, officers, men sworn to service. They said no weapon they knew could act like this. No technology within the arsenal could match what the orb displayed. You let those statements drift across your mind like clouds. Not hard proof for your restless mind to analyse. Just soft assurances and whispered testimonies, carrying you deeper into quiet wonder. The orb glows in your imagination, white against the night, like a lantern on the sea. It drifts with patience. You follow it, step by step, breath by breath. And each moment the world feels less certain and somehow more beautiful. There is a rhythm to these stories. They echo through time. The Orb of Yemen connects to other lights before it, other shapes seen in skies above, bases, seas and forests. Tonight, you feel the beginning of that echo. This is the first note in a long lullaby of mystery. The night sky holds it all. The missile that failed, the orb that endured, the witnesses who spoke, the silence that followed. You lie beneath it now, part of that silence, part of that sky. And as you breathe, you sense the story is not ending here. It continues. It moves as the orb moved, forward, steady, without breaking, into the next chapter, into the next moment of wonder, into the next reminder that some things, once touched, carry on. And so the mystery rests gently on your chest, heavy but not crushing, strange but not frightening. You close your eyes to the image of the Yemen Orb, gliding untouched through the night, and you let it carry you forward toward what comes after. And as you rest with that vision, the orb untouched, the missile falling aside, you sense that the mystery is only beginning. The next step waits, a deeper look into the moment when fire met light and the orb did not break. You return to the stillness above Yemen, where the Red Sea breathes its slow rhythm against the land. The sky is vast, carrying more silence than words can hold. In that silence, a moment unfolds, fragile, extraordinary, and unforgettable. The missile leaves its cradle, a hellfire born of human design, swift and unforgiving. Its path is guided and precise, a weapon meant to erase what it touches. In your mind, you trace its arc across the night, a line of force aimed at the glowing orb. For a heartbeat, the desert sky holds its breath, as though time itself hesitates, and then, impact. Yet what happens is not what the world expects. The missile touches the orb, but it does not tear it apart. There is no fireball, no eruption of light, no thunder of destruction. Instead, the orb remains whole and serene, continuing on its path as if wrapped in an invisible veil. The missile falls away, useless, forgotten by the laws it should have obeyed. This is the moment replayed in hearings. This is the clip that spread across newsrooms. But for you, lying in this quiet space, it is more than evidence. It is a story carried softly on the wind, a reminder that some things cannot be broken no matter what force tries. You imagine the operators watching from afar. Their screens glow dimly in their rooms, eyes wide as the impossible unfolds before them. Decades of training, thousands of hours of procedure, all of it undone by a sphere of light that did not yield. Their silence must have been thick and heavy, like the silence you feel now. The orb continues, steady, its glow unchanged. Some say debris was carried with it, as though even fragments of the missile were drawn into its field. What kind of presence can do that? Absorbing force, carrying fire, yet remaining whole? You wonder gently, without fear. George Knapp described it in his steady voice. He called it a missile smacking into a UFO and bouncing off. Simple words, yet beneath them lies a shift that is not simple at all. For if a hellfire cannot break it, what else remains powerless before it? You breathe again, slow, steady. The thought does not frighten you, it soothes you. Because if something can endure force like this, perhaps it is not here to destroy. Perhaps endurance itself is the message. Your mind drifts to echoes of other stories. The missiles in Russia in 1982, when UFOs appeared over silos and codes lit up as if touched by invisible hands. The witnesses who panicked, who thought war was moments away, until the lights vanished and silence returned. Again and again the pattern repeats, weapons fail, craft remain. And in that failure, humanity is reminded of something greater. But tonight is not about panic. Tonight is about wonder. You picture the orb, unbroken, drifting as though nothing had touched it. You feel the weight of that calm, and in that calm you rest deeper. The missile that should have ended the story only began it. Some wonder if the missile was inert, a dud or a failure of human engineering rather than proof of something beyond. Others speculate on force fields, on gravity wells, on technologies not yet imagined. You let these thoughts drift by like clouds, because tonight the how is less important than the what, and what you see is simple. The orb did not break. You lie with that truth. You hold it close like a lullaby that repeats, soft and steady. The orb did not break. The orb did not break. The orb did not break. Each repetition slows your mind, carrying you deeper into the gentle rhythm of night. The missile falls aside, forgotten. The orb moves forward, and so do you. You imagine being there in the desert night, looking upward with your own eyes. No screen, no sensor, no grainy footage, only the real glow, pure and silent, drifting across the horizon. What would you feel? Fear? Awe? Or perhaps, like now, a soft comfort that the unknown moves with calmness, not with fury. The orb is not rushed. It does not hurry to escape. It glides, patient as sleep itself. You close your eyes and follow. This endurance connects with something deep inside you. Every person has known moments of pressure, times when forces strike and the world seems to demand collapse. Yet here, in the story of this orb, you find a reminder. Not all strikes succeed. Not all fire consumes. Some things simply carry on, whole, unbroken. The more you rest with this thought, the more you feel it settle within your own breath. You too endure. You too move forward. The orb carries fragments of fire, yet remains calm. You carry fragments of worry, yet tonight, you let them rest. The stillness of the Yemeni sky lingers in your imagination. Congress heard the clip, but the sky itself held it first. Long before hearings and headlines, the moment belonged to the night, and now it belongs to you as you drift deeper. The missile that failed is not just a record, it is a rhythm, a quiet reminder that even force can be met with silence. You imagine the orb as a lantern of calm guiding you further into the mystery. Its glow is not harsh. It does not demand belief. It simply is. It moves. It continues. And as it continues, you close your eyes tighter, following its gentle pace. Each breath you take is a step further into the mystery. Each beat of your heart is an echo of the orb's persistence. The missile did not end it. Nothing ended it. And here you are, safe beneath your own sky, letting that endurance carry you. The orb that did not break drifts forward, and you drift with it. Into silence, into stillness, into the next layer of mystery, waiting just beyond. And as the orb continues untouched, carrying fragments of fire within its glow, you sense there are more stories hidden, stored away on servers and whispered through testimony. The silence leads you into the next chapter, into echoes of hidden servers where more secrets sleep. The night continues, slow and steady. The orb of Yemen fades into the distance, but its glow remains with you, like an afterimage on the back of your eyes. You're left not with finality, but with a question. How many more moments like this lie unseen? You imagine servers humming softly in secret rooms, rows upon rows of machines blinking with small lights, each one carrying memories that have not yet reached the public. Videos of orbs, disks, and lights dancing above oceans, over deserts, and across missile fields. Locked away, encrypted, shielded by classifications and walls. In testimony, George Knapp spoke of them. He said there are entire banks of these videos stored on government servers, unseen by Congress, unseen by the public. Only fragments drift into the open, moments like the Yemen Orb, leaked and replayed. But beyond those fragments, a vault of silence remains. You close your eyes and walk those corridors in thought. The air is cool, the machines constant. Each server holds not numbers, but stories. Stories of skies alive with unknowns. Stories of moments when the ordinary failed and the extraordinary endured. You picture them as dreams, dreams collected but not shared, lights hovering, missiles failing, aircraft shadowed by shapes they cannot chase, entire nights stored in silence, waiting. And you wonder, why not let the world see? The witnesses in hearings asked the same. They said the people deserve the truth. They said secrecy has lasted too long, and the cost is trust itself. Yet secrecy persists, heavy and unmoved. You let the weight of that secrecy settle into you like a blanket. Heavy, yes, but not crushing. It is simply there, part of the rhythm of the story. Humanity has always hidden what it does not understand. But tonight, you choose not to fight that. You choose only to walk softly among those hidden archives, in thought, in imagination. The servers glow with quiet light. You hear the hum. You feel the presence of countless moments, locked away. Among those archives might be dozens of orbs like Yemen, some glowing spheres, some discs hovering in formation, some triangles appearing over air bases, moving without sound, each one captured, each one analysed, each one filed away into silence. You drift deeper. Your breath keeps time with the hum of those servers. Inhale, and you feel the weight of secrecy. Exhale, and you release it, letting the mystery simply exist. Knapp's words echo again. Occasionally some of that stuff gets out in the wild and it comes our way. You let that phrase roll gently through your mind. Occasionally, not often, not all, just a trace, a hint, like a drop of rain from a storm hidden over the horizon. You wonder what storms remain unseen, and yet, in this wondering, you are calm. Because the unseen does not need to frighten you. It can soothe you. Just as sleep comes with unknown dreams, just as night holds shadows you do not name, the archives of mystery hold stories that do not need answers tonight. They only need presence. You feel as though you're lying in two places at once, your own quiet room and the imagined corridors of these servers. Both are still. Both are calm. Both carry secrets that whisper but do not demand. Sometimes secrecy is described as a wall, but tonight it feels more like fog, a gentle grey fog that hides but does not harm. Within it, truths move quietly, waiting for the time they will emerge. The Orb of Yemen was one such truth. It slipped from fog into view, and others will too. For now, you rest in the knowing that hidden does not mean gone. You think of other witnesses, soldiers, sailors, officers, who spoke of strange craft, only to have their reports silenced, their documents destroyed. Yet even when records are shredded, memory persists. Even when servers lock their archives, whispers escape. This is the rhythm of disclosure. Not a sudden burst, but a slow unfolding. A door opening inch by inch, letting only a sliver of light into the room. You sit in that sliver, letting it glow across your face. The servers remain, humming, unseen. But tonight, you are not locked out. You're invited in through imagination, through testimony, through the echoes of voices that risk much to share. You breathe deeper, and the hum becomes softer, fading into your own heartbeat. One by one, the servers fade into the background, leaving only the sense that countless stories wait in the dark, and that is enough. You need not demand them now. You need only to know they exist. The mystery endures, the truth endures, and you, resting beneath your own sky, endure as well. The hidden servers hum like lullabies, carrying secrets into the night. You drift with them, knowing that silence too can be gentle, and as you step away from those imagined corridors, you sense that not all secrets stay hidden. Some emerge suddenly, glowing red against the night, larger than memory itself. The next story waits at Vandenberg, the red square above the missile fields. You let your mind drift backward, not just in miles, but in years. The sky over Yemen fades, and another horizon takes its place. It is October 14th, 2003, along the coast of California, at Vandenberg Air Force Base. A place where silence is never simple, because beneath that silence rests the weight of missiles, guardians of nations, watchers of the sky. The night is calm. Contractors from Boeing work near the missile defense sites, their tasks routine, their attention set on schedules and equipment, and then, without warning, something unusual appears above them, a shape, a light, Not round, not triangular, but square, glowing red, massive, silent. It hovers above the launch sites as though pausing to watch. Time slows. The witnesses look upward, their bodies still, their voices caught between disbelief and awe. A square, larger than memory wants to admit, drifts across the night sky without a sound. Later it will be called the Vandenberg Red Square. In that moment it is only silence and light. You imagine standing there. The California air is cool on your skin, and the ocean is breathing faintly in the distance, and above you a square that does not belong, glowing with a presence that feels both heavy and calm. It drifts eastward, over the base, past the hills, and then vanishes into the dark. For those who watched, nothing felt the same again. Jeffrey Nuctatelli, a US Air Force veteran, spoke of this night years later in testimony. His voice carried both clarity and weight, not the urgency of panic, but the steadiness of memory that refuses to fade. He called the event profoundly life-changing. He was not alone. Others saw it too, men trained in duty and discipline, whose lives bent in quiet ways from that night forward. You lie still as you hear their words, letting them move through you like echoes. The Red Square did not rush. It did not strike. It simply hovered, lingered, and moved away. And yet, its silence spoke volumes. At a base where national defense was guarded, where launches were deemed the most important in 25 years, a shape appeared that no weapon could match, no manual could explain. What does it mean, you wonder, for something so strange to arrive in such a place? Your breath steadies. You picture the contrast, steel silos beneath the earth, waiting with force, and above them, a glowing square, calm and untouchable. The two worlds overlap, one of human firepower, one of unknown endurance, and in that overlap mystery deepens. Reports say the square hovered for several minutes before moving on, long enough for fear to rise, long enough for awe to settle, long enough for memory to etch itself into those who looked upward. Then silence returned. The base remained. The launches continued. But nothing was the same. You breathe slowly, feeling how this moment stretches across time. 2003 feels far away, yet in the rhythm of your thoughts, it is here now, hovering above you in your own quiet night. The Red Square is not just a shape in the sky, it is a question that lingers 20 years later, whispered in hearings, repeated in testimonies, shared in voices that tremble not with fear, but with wonder. You let that wonder settle into you. The square did not break the silence of the base. Instead, it joined it, reshaping silence into something new. Nucatelli described how official records were kept and how documentation was made. Yet later, those very records vanished, destroyed in routine purges. Paper fades, digital files vanish, but memory endures, and tonight memory is enough. You close your eyes and imagine the square. Its glow is soft, not harsh. Its presence is calm, not violent. It lingers, and you linger with it. The more you rest in this moment, the more you realize the pattern. Across decades, across continents, witnesses describe not only lights, not only shapes, but persistence, craft that remains, craft that return, craft that watch. The Red Square is one echo among many, yet in its shape and silence it feels distinct. A square, glowing red, as if drawn from some other geometry of the universe, appearing where no square should ever fly. You let that thought drift, slow and steady, like the square itself. The Boeing contractors who first reported it likely felt their voices tremble, but they spoke, and because they spoke, the memory lives now in your own quiet night. Testimony carries across decades like light across space, slow, patient, but unstoppable. You breathe again, inhale, exhale. The square remains with you, calm and steady, even as the night moves forward, and so you lie, resting beneath the presence of this story, carried by the voices of those who saw it. The Orb of Yemen continues in your memory, but now the square joins it. Another shape, another silence, another reminder that the sky is never empty. The Red Square drifts into the horizon of thought, leaving you with a question that does not demand an answer. What else hovers, unseen, above our defences, our lives, our quiet nights? The mystery spreads, calm and unstoppable, across decades, across skies, across your very breath. And as your eyes grow heavier, you feel the story preparing to guide you further, into another shape, another silence, this time a triangle. And so the square dissolves into memory, but the night sky does not rest. For soon another form will appear, a triangle larger than a football field, hovering silently, reshaping the meaning of the night. The story drifts forward like the tide. From the red square above Vandenberg, your thoughts now move south along the California coast. The year is 2023. The sea is calm, the night still, and beneath the dark horizon, something waits. It is February 15th, 2023. You're aboard the USS Jackson, a Navy vessel moving steadily through the Pacific waters. The crew is alert, scanning the skies, watching the instruments, and then something begins. A self-luminous object emerges from the ocean, not with spray or roar, not with fire or thunder, but with a silence so complete it feels like reverence. Its shape is simple, elongated and smooth, like a tic-tac. It glows with its own light, needing no reflection. You imagine standing on deck, the salt air on your lips, your eyes wide as this object rises, steady, unhurried. And then, just as suddenly, it links with 3 others in the sky. 4 glowing, tic-tac-shaped craft, moving together as if guided by one thought. Then, without warning, they vanish. A synchronized acceleration, so sudden, so perfect, that even radar cannot follow. What remains is silence, a silence larger than the sea itself. Chief Petty Officer Alexandro Wiggins described this night in testimony. His words were steady and measured, carrying no exaggeration, only the weight of memory. He said the objects did not behave like any aircraft known to him or to anyone aboard. They rose from the sea, joined together and departed without sound, without trail, without explanation. You let his words settle inside you. For Wiggins, this was not theory. This was not speculation. This was lived, witnessed, shared among sailors whose duty was to watch the skies and guard the waters. The Tic-Tac craft has been reported before. Off the coast of California in 2004, pilots from the USS Nimitz described similar shapes, elongated, smooth, moving with impossible speed. They called them Tic-Tacs, because no other description seemed simple enough to capture their form. And now, again, in 2023 they return. You close your eyes, imagining the ocean at night. The horizon disappears into darkness. The stars scatter above like faint signals. And then, without warning, the sea exhales something unknown. It rises not with violence but with calm, a tic-tac glowing softly, and then another, and another, until 4 drift together in the night. You wonder about the silence. How can something move so swiftly, so suddenly, and yet make no sound? How can water part and yet not roar? How can acceleration defy the senses and yet remain so precise, so perfect? The sailors described no sonic boom, no propulsion, no exhaust, and no control surfaces, only light, only presence, and then absence. The stillness that follows is almost more profound than the sight itself. The ocean remains vast and unbroken. The sky remains endless and black. And yet those who saw it know that something has shifted. The tic-tacs remind you of seeds drifting on the wind. Small, simple, and yet carrying potential beyond comprehension. They appear, they move, they vanish. And like seeds, they leave behind something unseen but enduring. Memory. You breathe deeper now, letting the image of 4 glowing shapes linger in your mind. They do not rush, they do not harm, they simply arrive, gather, and depart. And in their pattern there is harmony. Sailors who saw them might have felt fear, but they also felt awe at the silence, at the precision, at the idea that something beyond our technology could rise from sea to sky with ease. And you, lying here in the quiet, feel that awe too. Not sharp, not restless. Soft, a gentle awe that rocks you into stillness, like the tide rocking a boat. The tic-tacs remind you that mystery does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it arrives with calm. Sometimes the unknown is not a storm but a lullaby. You rest in that lullaby now. Testimony spoke of how these events are recorded. Radar screens glowing with signals, sensors catching movements, infrared frames showing shapes that eyes alone could not hold. And yet, even with all the data, the question remains unanswered. What are they? You breathe, letting the question pass through you without demand. You do not need an answer tonight. You only need the question, because the question itself is soothing. The question itself is endless, like the sea, like the sky. 4 tic-tacs vanish, leaving stillness behind. You close your eyes and drift deeper, not into fear, but into wonder. The Navy crew, disciplined and steady, recorded what they saw. They filed their reports, and yet, like so many before them, they received no answers in return. Silence met silence, and maybe silence is the answer. You lie back, letting the silence fill you like water filling a tide pool, calm, steady, endless. The tic-tacs remain with you as symbols, not just of mystery but of possibility. They remind you that the world is larger than what you know, that the sea holds secrets, that the sky carries echoes, that even in the most ordinary night something extraordinary may rise. You breathe slow and deep. The tic-tacs fade into your mind's horizon, leaving behind a calm curiosity, like a soft hum you can almost hear. The ocean exhales, the night waits, and you drift with it, deeper into rest, deeper into mystery, deeper into yourself. The tic-tacs are gone, but their silence lingers, and as the silence settles, another shape waits in memory. Not smooth and rounded, but vast and triangular, hovering above bases, stretching across the night sky, carrying its own strange glow. The story carries you inland now, away from the ocean's endless breath. It is no longer the Red Sea or the Pacific tide that fills your imagination, but the quiet grounds of Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. The year is 2012. The summer night air is thick and humid, carrying the scent of grass and distant asphalt. You imagine yourself there at the base, just another figure in the quiet of the evening, a barracks nearby, a smoke pit outside, the simple rhythm of a day ending, the glow of a phone screen in your hand, the warm pulse of summer pressing against your skin, and then a light. At first it seems ordinary, a white light rising, pausing in the air, hanging at about 100 feet. Your first thought is simple, a weather balloon, perhaps, or a test of some kind. You've seen things like that before, but this light does not behave the way memory tells you it should. You step closer, you finish your cigarette. The night feels thicker now, heavier. And then, as you watch, the light begins to change. It does not vanish, but it becomes something more. Around it, a shape appears, sharp, defined, equilateral. A triangle forms in the air, as if the light itself is the seed of a larger geometry. You stand still. Above you, no more than 100 feet high, is a craft unlike any you have ever seen. Its surface glimmers. Not smooth metal, not static steel, but something alive. Witnesses later described it as fluid and dynamic, like lava or plasma flowing over black metallic skin. Like a telescope image of distant galaxies, shimmering with motion and colour against a dark backdrop. It is both solid and changing, both heavy and untouchable. You breathe, but your breath feels shallow now. The craft is silent, utterly silent, and yet its presence fills the air louder than thunder. Your phone grows hot in your hand, too hot. It freezes, dead. You feel static rising over your body, prickling across your arms, your neck, and your face. The smell of ozone fills the air, the sharp scent that comes only after a thunderstorm. Yet no rain has fallen, no storm has passed, only this craft, hovering above you, humming not with sound but with energy. It hangs there for minutes, 1, 2, 3. The triangle is vast, thicker than a 2-story building with sharp edges, each corner marked with a light. At its centre, a larger orb glows brighter, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. You stare upward. Time slows. You do not know whether you are standing on Earth or some other place entirely, for the sky above you no longer feels like your own. And then, without warning, the craft moves. The central light flashes 2 or 3 times. No sound follows. The triangle accelerates straight upward, vanishing into altitude so quickly that the human mind can barely register it. One moment it is just above you, low enough to make your body tremble with static. The next, it is as high as a commercial jet, a star among stars, and then slowly it drifts eastward until the night sky swallows it whole. The silence left behind is heavy, Heavier than the craft itself, you breathe again, steady now, letting your chest rise and fall. You feel the air around you return to ordinary weight, though the smell of ozone lingers faintly, as though memory itself has a scent. Witnesses like Dylan Borland describe this night with a steadiness that feels almost impossible. To speak of something so unearthly, and yet to speak calmly, as though it were just another shift, another evening, another duty fulfilled. But nothing about this was ordinary. For those who saw it, the triangle was not only a craft, it was a question. You let that question rest on your mind. A triangle in the night, equilateral, perfect, vast. A geometry not of art, but of presence. Why this shape? Why this silence? Why this night? The answer does not come. But perhaps the question is enough. You imagine lying in your own bed, replaying the moment. Every detail is sharper than memory usually allows. The light, the triangle, the static, the smell. You imagine telling no one, because who would believe? You imagine carrying it alone, and yet years later the testimony comes, spoken aloud before Congress, not as fiction, not as speculation, but as lived truth. You rest in that truth now. Calm, soothing, mystery not as fear but as a lullaby. Because even as you drift deeper, you realize the triangle did not harm. It did not strike. It simply hovered, glowed, and departed. Like the orb of Yemen, like the tic-tacs from the sea, this too remained untouchable, beyond explanation, but not beyond memory. You breathe, letting the rhythm of the unknown guide you. The triangle reminds you of a shadow stretched across the sky, a shadow without a storm, a shadow without sound, a shadow that does not frighten, but humbles. And in that humility you find calm. Your eyes grow heavier now. The night stretches wider. The triangle fades into the distance, but the memory remains, shimmering at the edge of thought like starlight. What are these shapes? Orbs, squares, tic-tacs, triangles, each different, each arriving, lingering and leaving, each reshaping the sky into something larger than you imagined. The silence after is louder than thunder. And tonight, that silence becomes your rest. And as the triangle fades into the stars, your thoughts drift too. For the next story waits in the testimony of men who face not silence but secrecy. Servers filled with unseen videos, records locked away, archives of lights and shapes the public was never meant to see. The story drifts east now, far from American shores, past oceans and forests, past cities and fields, into the heart of the Soviet Union in the autumn of 1982. You imagine the air colder here, the nights sharper, and the skies heavy with winter's approach. It is night over an ICBM base. Rows of silos lie beneath the earth, each holding weapons designed never to be used and yet always prepared. Inside the control room, officers sit at consoles, their faces pale in the glow of monitors. Outside, guards keep watch under the vast star-filled sky. And then, something arrives. Lights appear over the base, not jets, not helicopters, not anything familiar. They move in strange ways, splitting apart, fusing together, blinking out, then reappearing in an entirely different part of the sky. For hours the lights linger. The soldiers watch, torn between training and awe. Their weapons are ready, but what could they strike? The lights maneuver with precision that no known craft should possess. And then, the unthinkable happens. Inside the control room, alarms sound. Codes begin to activate. Launch systems designed with layers of security suddenly light up as though unseen hands are pressing the sequence. Missiles prepare to fire. Red warning lamps flash. The room erupts in panic. Colonel Valery Sokolov in command rushes to the scene. The officers try to shut the system down. They cannot. The launch codes are correct, verified and ready. The missiles are armed. For seconds, long, terrible seconds, the world hangs on the edge of catastrophe. And then, as suddenly as it began, the lights in the sky vanish. The launch systems go dark. The codes disappear. The missiles return to dormant silence, as though nothing had happened. The officers collapse back into their chairs, shaken. Their hands tremble. They know what almost was. Later, Colonel Sokolov and his team examine every wire, every circuit, and every possible explanation. They find nothing. No power surge, no electromagnetic pulse, no mechanical fault. Nothing explains why the codes came alive. Only one detail remains. the UFOS in the sky. You breathe slowly, letting that weight rest gently on your chest. For a moment, humanity stood on the edge of a war it could not survive, and the trigger was not human hands, but something unknown, drifting silently above. Witnesses later wondered, was it a warning? A demonstration? A message written not in words but in light? The thought is chilling, and yet in the calm of this retelling it feels less like fear and more like awe. You imagine yourself there, standing guard in the cold, watching lights split and rejoin. The silence of the night broken only by your own breathing. You feel the hairs rise on your arms, your skin prickled by the nearness of something beyond comprehension. And then, you hear the alarms inside the bunker. You see the officers rushing, the codes flashing, and the red lamps glowing, and you know, this night will never leave you. For the soldiers at that base, life divided into before and after. Before the lights, after the codes. Years later, documents leaked from Soviet archives would describe this event. Files stamped with secrecy, whispered among investigators, reports that matched what the witnesses said. The codes were real. The launch sequence was real, and yet there was no explanation. You let the thought settle. Thousands of miles away, the same mystery was unfolding in other places. In America, at Malmstrom Air Force Base. In England, near Rendlesham Forest. In countless skies, across decades. Lights above weapons, lights above silence, lights above fear. It is almost as if the unknown chooses its stage carefully, appearing not over empty fields, but over the most guarded places humanity holds, as if to say, we see what you have built, and perhaps also, do not forget what we see. The night of October 1982 fades now in your mind. The missiles remain in their silos, never fired. The soldiers return to their duties, though their lives are changed. Colonel Sokolov carries the memory with him, his report preserved in fragments that surface years later. You breathe slowly, letting the image dissolve like mist. The lights vanish into the sky. The codes fade to dark. The silence returns. But in that silence you feel something deeper. Not just fear, but possibility. Not just danger, but a message. Perhaps the UFOS were not threatening. Perhaps they were reminding us that humanity's weapons are fragile, that the systems we build to control destruction can be undone in an instant, that there are forces, seen or unseen, that can choose to intervene. You rest in that thought, not with certainty, but with wonder. The Soviet Night of Codes remains one of history's strangest encounters. Was it sabotage? Technology beyond us? Or something more? Something outside of nation and language? A signal from a place we cannot name? You close your eyes. The question itself is enough. The lights split, the codes ignite, and the silence returns. And you drift with it, deeper into calm, deeper into sleep. And as the Soviet night fades, you sense another thread. This time not of lights in the sky, but of records on paper. Leaked documents, declassified files, and whistleblowers tracing the hidden archives of secrecy that governments guard as tightly as missiles. The journey shifts now, from skies and oceans to corridors of paper, from the silence of triangles and orbs to the silence of locked cabinets and stamped files. Mystery does not only live in the air, it lives in words, buried under secrecy, scattered across memos, hidden inside acronyms. Imagine a room lined with cabinets, grey metal, heavy drawers, each one labelled with numbers, dates and codes. On their fronts, the faint red ink of secrecy stamps confidential, secret, top secret. Inside, not stories told in the open, but documents written for eyes that were never meant to share them. This is where the trail begins. In the late 1970s, the United States passed a law, the Freedom of Information Act, known simply as FOIA. For the first time, ordinary citizens, journalists and researchers could request what had once been locked away. It was not simple, not easy, and often the pages that arrived were blacked out with heavy ink. But even fragments were enough to say the public story was not the whole story. Journalists like George Knapp spent years chasing these fragments. FOIA request returned memos, admitting things no press conference had ever said. One memo from 1947. The phenomenon reported is not visionary or fictitious. It is real. The objects are craft. Another line later from military witnesses behind closed doors. They can fly in formation. They are evasive. They outperform any aircraft known to exist. For decades, the public had been told, there is nothing to worry about. Witnesses are mistaken. Stories are false. And yet, in the quiet language of documents, the truth was different. You breathe, feeling the weight of that difference. It is not only what is seen in the sky that unsettles, it is what is hidden in the paper. Whistleblowers would later say that much of what the government once held was passed to private contractors, to Lockheed, to defence companies whose records do not answer to FOIA. A way of moving secrets out of reach, where even Congress could not see. A hidden hand, shifting truth into vaults no one could open. You imagine these vaults now, servers in quiet rooms, filled with videos of orbs and discs and lights that have never reached the public. Witnesses describe banks of recordings, whole collections unseen. The silence of metal drawers is replaced with the silence of encrypted drives, and still the fragments leak. Occasionally a video escapes, an orb over Yemen, a tic-tac from the sea, a red square over Vandenberg. Each one feels like a dream breaking through the walls of secrecy. But for every fragment seen, how many remain hidden? You pause, breathing slowly, letting that question rest. The trail is not straight. It winds through hearings and denials, leaks and retractions. Every time the public steps closer, the ground shifts. What is admitted in private is denied in public. What is released in fragments is contradicted in press conferences. Trust itself becomes fragile. You imagine yourself walking down a hallway. On one side, doors labelled truth. On the other, doors labelled secrecy. The doors open and close, sometimes together, sometimes against each other. You're caught between them, walking slowly, listening to the echoes of both. Behind one door, testimony of officers who saw launch codes ignite under UFOS. Behind another, official reports dismissing the same events as anomalies. Behind one door, whistleblowers describing reverse engineering programs. Behind another, public statements saying no evidence of extraterrestrials. The trail is confusing, but confusion itself tells a story. Over time, the paper trails show a pattern. UFOS, or UAPS, as they are now called, appear over sensitive sites. Witnesses report them. Reports rise up the chain, and then silence. The files are classified, the witnesses dismissed, and the data hidden away. And yet, FOIA pries open cracks. In those cracks, you glimpse what was never meant to be seen. One file describes UFOS disabling missiles. Another describes discs seen by trained pilots. Another admits that these things are real. The word repeats softly in your mind, real. Not fictitious, not visionary, real. You breathe, letting the rhythm settle you deeper. Secrecy is not only about what is hidden, it is about what is denied. For decades, the government told the public not to worry. But secrecy leaves shadows, and in those shadows, suspicion grows. The longer the silence, the louder the doubt. And yet, the witnesses keep speaking. From Bob Lazar in the Nevada desert to modern Navy pilots. From Air Force veterans at Vandenberg to Russian officers recalling October nights in 1982. Their voices thread together, weaving a fabric stronger than silence. You imagine each testimony as a candle. One voice, one flame. Alone, small. Together, bright enough to pierce the dark hallways of secrecy. The paper trails are the wax of these candles. The FOIA requests, the leaked memos, the fragments of reports. They preserve the light just long enough to be seen. You walk slowly through this corridor of paper and flame, you breathe, you listen. The phrase hidden hands lingers with you. Because secrecy is not faceless. There are always people, officials, officers, contractors, who choose what to release and what to conceal. Some hide truth to protect power. Others hide truth out of fear. Some guard it because they believe it is too dangerous to share. And yet, others, whistleblowers, journalists, witnesses, reach past those hands. They risk careers, reputations, and sometimes safety to place a document, a video, or a testimony into public light. It is a slow dance between silence and disclosure. Each step forward meets resistance. Each revelation is followed by denial. Yet over time, the dance continues, and more is seen. You breathe, letting that rhythm guide your own. What does it mean to live in a world where truth is both admitted and denied? where the public face says nothing to see, but the private paper says it is real? Perhaps it means living always between trust and doubt, between sky and archive, between what is told and what is hidden, and perhaps that is why these stories are not frightening at bedtime. They are familiar. All of us know the feeling of not being told everything, of sensing that more exists than what we are given, of living in the quiet space between silence and truth. You close your eyes. The paper trails stretch like paths in a forest. Some fade into black, some lead to locked doors, and some open into light, where a single phrase glows. It is real. You rest there, calm. The hidden hands may hold the files, but the truth, once written, cannot be erased. It waits, quietly, until the day it drifts out like a loose page carried by the wind. You breathe once more. The air feels softer now, gentler. This chapter of secrecy does not end in fear, but in understanding. Understanding that mystery does not only live above us, but also within the systems we build. Mystery is not only in the stars, but also in the files we keep locked away. You drift with that thought, calm, heavy-lidded, at peace. And as the paper trails fade, your thoughts move outward again, to the skies above California, where luminous shapes rose from the sea itself. From hidden hands to open water, the mystery continues, carried on waves. The mystery is not only in the skies, it is in the faces of those who come forward, their voices steady but soft, their shoulders carrying invisible weight. Imagine a hearing room. Fluorescent lights hum above. Long desks stretch before you. Behind them, rows of representatives lean forward, their pens ready, their expressions both curious and skeptical. Cameras stand quietly, recording every word, and at the centre of it all sit the witnesses. Some wear uniforms pressed and perfect. Others wear plain suits, their ties simple, their hands folded. Their eyes tell you what their words cannot. This is not easy. One after another they speak. Jeffrey Nusatelli, a former Air Force police officer, remembers the red square over Vandenberg. He recalls the missiles guarded, the silence broken, and the lights hovering. His words are careful, but beneath them you hear a tremor, not of fear, but of memory heavy with consequence. He speaks not only of what he saw, but of what it meant. The absence of guidance, the silence from above, the burden carried alone. Then comes Chief Petty Officer Alexandro Wiggins of the US Navy. He tells of the tic-tac-shaped objects rising from the sea off California, luminous and silent, moving with impossible speed. His voice is calm, professional, and trained by years at sea, yet you feel the pause in his breath, the way his mind still circles the image, unable to place it in any world he knew. And there is Dylan Borland, geospatial intelligence specialist. He speaks of triangles at Langley, of craft with fluid surfaces and silent power. He speaks too of the aftermath, not only the sight, but the retaliation. The jobs lost, the doors closed, the careers cut short. You let their words wash over you. Their testimonies are not loud. They are not meant to shock. They are steady, deliberate, like stones placed carefully one after another, building a path. The path they build is costly. For many witnesses, the cost is reputation. Colleagues whisper, careers stall, families worry. Some are called liars, some are told they imagined it, others are accused of betrayal. And yet, they speak. They speak because silence is heavier than ridicule. They speak because the truth, once carried, cannot be laid down. You imagine that weight now. It is not the weight of metal or of stone, but of memory, moments that never leave. Lights above a base, a craft rising from the water, codes flashing on a console. The weight grows heavier the longer it is hidden, so they step into the light. They sit in hearing rooms, they raise their hands and swear an oath, and they carry the weight not only for themselves, but also for the world that deserves to know. George Knapp, the journalist, leans forward in his chair, his hair silver, his voice steady. He has carried stories since the 1980s, always careful, always checking, always cautious. He speaks of documents squeezed from secrecy, of patterns traced over decades. He speaks not with spectacle, but with persistence, the persistence of one who refuses to let silence win. And beyond the hearing room, there is David Grush. His testimony echoes even when his voice is absent. He speaks of crash retrievals, of secret programs, of reprisals that scar. For speaking, he is accused, doubted, and attacked. Yet still, his words ripple outward. You breathe, letting the rhythm of their courage settle gently into your chest. The hearings themselves move slowly like tides. Questions rise and fall. Some representatives lean in with urgency, their voices sharp, others dismiss, their tone cool. Through it all, the witnesses remain steady. Have you seen this with your own eyes? Yes. Can you explain it with known technology? Number. Have you suffered for speaking? Yes. Each answer adds weight. Each answer deepens silence in the room. For the listener, the effect is soft but powerful. You are not jolted awake. You are not shaken. Instead, you are invited to rest in the honesty of voices that should not have to prove themselves but still do. The weight of the witness is not only in what they saw, it is in what they lost. Careers dissolved, clearances revoked, futures closed. Yet none of those losses are as heavy as silence. You think of Borland describing the triangle over Langley. His phone froze, his skin tingled, and the smell of lightning filled the air. Years later, his career stalled. His name whispered in caution. Yet still he speaks. You think of Wiggins watching luminous shapes rise from the sea. He knows ships, he knows planes, and he knows the ocean. And yet, what he saw did not fit. His career continued, but the memory never left. You think of Nusatelli recalling the glowing red square. He saw it with others, he wrote the reports, but the records were destroyed, the evidence erased. What remains is only his voice, carrying weight no paper could. You breathe with them, inhale, exhale. Their testimonies remind you of something quiet but profound. Truth is not always written in documents or captured in videos. Sometimes truth is carried in the body, in the eyes, in the pauses, in the tremor of a voice that has held a memory too long. In this, the witnesses are not just testifiers, they are guardians. Guardians of stories that might otherwise vanish. Guardians of details that resist silence. Guardians of memory itself. The weight of the witness becomes lighter only when shared. That is why they sit in hearings. That is why they speak before Congress. That is why they risk it. And that is why you, here in this quiet moment, honor them simply by listening. You close your eyes. The hearing room fades. The lights dim. The voices soften. But the weight remains, not as a burden, but as a reminder. That courage often sounds like steady voices speaking softly against silence. The chapter drifts to its close now. You breathe, letting your body sink deeper into rest. The weight of the witness rests with you, but gently, like a hand placed softly on your shoulder. And as you drift, you sense the story moving forward, not only through testimonies, but through the deeper questions they raise. If secrecy has endured this long, what does it mean for the future? If witnesses carry weight today, what burdens will tomorrow reveal? You let that thought linger, like a light in the distance. And as the voices fade, you begin to sense the broader stage, the long arc of secrecy itself, stretching through governments, contractors, and decades of silence. In the next chapter, you walk deeper into the structures that hide what has already been seen. The journey circles back, as stories often do, to where it first began, to Yemen, to the Red Sea night, to a glowing orb in the darkness tracked by unmanned eyes, watched by soldiers, and struck by a missile meant to end its flight. You're there again, beneath the expanse of desert sky, the hum of the drone circling above. The night is heavy with silence, broken only by the whir of machinery and the unspoken question of what waits beyond the dark horizon. And then there is the orb, a sphere, small yet immense, glowing faintly, drifting with a grace that feels deliberate. Not a balloon, not a flare, not anything the watchers could name, simply a light, steady present. A Hellfire missile is launched. Its purpose is simple: to strike, to destroy, to end. It carries speed, force, and the weight of technology honed through decades of warfare. The watchers expect one outcome only: impact followed by destruction. But what follows is not what the textbooks say. The missile touches. For a breathless instant, contact is made, and yet no explosion, no end. The missile glances away as though striking glass, as though the orb is wrapped in something unseen. Debris sparks, flickering like embers caught in wind, and the orb continues, unchanged. It carries on. The room where the video was later shown fell silent. In hearings, men leaned forward, watching, their voices hushed. One called it a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and bouncing right off. Another said simply, "Nothing in our arsenal can do that." The orb does not explain itself, it does not pause to demonstrate. It does not reveal what shield surrounds it or what power sustains it. It moves forward, steady, as though untouched. You breathe, imagining that steadiness, a calm persistence, carrying on in silence, no matter what strikes against you. Perhaps that is why this image lingers so deeply, not only because of what it suggests about unknown technology, but because of what it feels like: resilience. The debris that followed, small fragments trailing like sparks, seemed almost drawn to the orb, as though gravity itself bent differently around it, as though the fragments belonged to it now, carried with it as it drifted onwards. Imagine that image, a light moving through night, sparks circling it like fireflies drawn into its path. The watchers see destruction scattered, but the orb absorbs it, carries it, and folds it into its journey. It is strange, it is unexplainable, but it is also strangely soothing. Because what is more peaceful than persistence? The quiet refusal to be stopped, the simple continuation of a journey. The orb becomes more than a sight, it becomes a symbol. For some, it is proof, technology beyond our understanding. For others, it is suspicion, a test, a deception, an illusion. But for you, here in this quiet moment, it is something else. It is a lullaby, a reminder that even under force, even under fire, some things continue untouched. You imagine yourself as that orb, floating, calm. The world may send storms, impacts, and sudden strikes, but you carry on, you drift, you glow, you remain. The missile does not define the orb. The strike does not end its path. It continues, silent and luminous, carrying debris like sparks in its wake. This is the rhythm of resilience. In the weeks after the video surfaced, questions multiplied. Why was telemetry missing? Why was the footage cropped? Why use a Hellfire missile in the first place? Was it alien? Was it a test? Was it simply misinterpreted? The orb itself answered none of these. It needed no words. Its silence was its answer. Its continuation was its statement. And in that silence, something soothing rests. For so much of the UFO mystery is wrapped in noise, debates, denials, theories, and accusations. Yet the orb, in the video and in memory, offers no noise, only calm motion, only persistence, only the quiet act of carrying on. You breathe again, slowly, deeply. The night sky over Yemen fades into your imagination. You're no longer a distant observer, but gently inside the moment. The air is still. The drone circles high, and there, moving with quiet determination, is the orb. It does not rush, it does not falter, it drifts forward, debris following like a comet's tail. In its presence, you feel both wonder and calm, and as you watch, you realize this is how mysteries live. Not in answers, not in revelations, but in persistence. They continue, even when struck, even when challenged, even when denied. They carry on, waiting, until we are ready to see them fully. The orb that carried on becomes a metaphor for all the voices, all the witnesses, and all the truths that have persisted despite dismissal. Like the orb, they too have been struck, by ridicule, by skepticism, by silence. And like the orb, they have carried on. George Knapp filing reports year after year, whistleblowers risking careers, veterans sitting in hearings, each of them carrying debris in their wake, yet still glowing, still moving. The orb is not only a mystery in the sky, it is a reflection of the persistence of truth. You close your eyes, the image drifts with you now, softer, calmer, a glowing sphere, unbroken, moving into silence. The hearing rooms fade, the debates fade, the speculation fades. What remains is the simple image of light continuing forward. For sleep does not need answers, it needs rhythm, and the orb gives you rhythm, steady, gentle, unstoppable. It moves, and you move with it. It carries on, and you drift deeper. And so, as the orb drifts into the distance, you rest with it, calm, persistent, untouched. The story does not end here. Mysteries rarely do. They carry on just as you do, into the silence of night. Night after night, the sky has carried you across deserts, across missile fields, across hearings and whispers, and yet another thought begins to rise. Perhaps not all mysteries come from above. Perhaps some emerge from beneath. You picture the ocean at night. Its surface is calm, reflecting faint stars, moving with tides so slow they feel eternal. To the eye, it seems like an end, but to the imagination, it is a beginning. Because some say these objects rise not only from the skies, but also from the seas. They call them transmedium, able to move through air, through water, and through space itself without change. You recall the words of Navy witnesses, voices steady with memory. A self-luminous object emerged from the ocean before linking up with 3 others. The description is clear, simple, and yet impossible. No splash, no plume, no disturbance, just light, rising from water as if the sea itself exhaled. Close your eyes and picture it. A horizon line, waves dark and soft, and then light, an orb rising as though gravity is reversed. Its glow is steady, its path is smooth, and its presence is undeniable. What waits beneath the surface? For decades, sailors have whispered of lights beneath waves. Accounts from submariners tell of glowing spheres pacing silently alongside them, moving faster than anything known, vanishing without trace. Fishermen too have spoken of luminous streaks darting under boats, leaving trails like liquid fire. The US Navy has tracked such things on sonar, objects moving at impossible speeds, without cavitation, without the turbulence any human craft would leave behind. No propellers, no engines, just motion, silent and sure. They are called USOs, unidentified submerged objects. They haunt not only the skies but also the deep. The ocean is perfect for secrecy. It covers most of the earth, yet it is largely unmapped and unexplored. Its depths crush steel, silence sound, and hide what rests there. To imagine craft rising from those depths is to imagine a mystery older than our eyes. You float with this thought, as though drifting downward. Water closes around you, cool and calm. Light bends above, dimming into blue, then into shadow. And in that quiet you feel both the vastness and the comfort of being held. If something waits beneath, it is patient. It does not rush to reveal itself. It rises only when it chooses, luminous and silent. Think back to the USS Jackson, off the coast of California, 2023. A tic-tac object emerges from the water, rises to meet 3 others, then vanishes. Witnesses see it with eyes and senses alike. What begins beneath ends above, or recall the Soviet reports, whispered through translated files, of submarines shadowed by luminous craft, of missiles silenced by objects that appeared and disappeared without warning. The sea, like the sky, holds its own archives. The thought is gentle, almost dreamlike. A world within a world, hidden not in distance but in depth. The ocean has always been a place of mystery. Sailors once spoke of sea serpents, of glowing wheels, of phantom ships beneath the waves. Some myths were born of fear, some of misperception. But not all myths dissolve. Some align with modern radar, with sonar tracks, with testimonies recorded in hearings. Imagine now the rhythm of waves, slow and steady like your own breath. Each wave a memory, each swell a witness, each trough held a secret. Beneath them, perhaps, the silence holds more than fish, more than rock. Perhaps it holds luminous spheres, waiting, resting, watching. And if they wait there, perhaps they are not visitors but residents, arrivals long ago choosing the sea as their shelter. You breathe, inhale, exhale. The sound of waves is steady in your mind. The ocean is a cradle, rocking you gently towards sleep. Its surface is calm, its depths unknowable. And in those depths, whispers move, lights are seen, records are kept, and voices are steady in testimony. They call these objects UAPS. They call them transmedium. They call them unknown. But here, in this quiet, they are simply part of the rhythm, appearing, vanishing, rising, falling like waves. You feel no fear, only curiosity softened by calm. For if the sea holds mysteries, then it holds them with patience. It has waited centuries, carrying secrets in silence. Perhaps the orbs that rise are simply reminders that not all is known, that not all is mapped, that not all is ours to claim, and that reminder, like a lullaby, soothes you deeper into rest. You imagine drifting downward again. Light fades, the surface disappears above. The pressure increases, but here in thought, it does not harm you. It simply enfolds you, like a weighted blanket. You sink softly, your breath steady, your body calm, and there, in the shadowed depths, a glow appears, a sphere of light pulsing gently, as though it too breathes. It does not rush toward you. It does not strike. It simply exists, holding its glow, waiting. You float with it, sharing silence, sharing space. The orb drifts upward, slow and calm. It does not disturb water. It does not ripple waves. It simply ascends, glowing against the dark, and you drift upward with it, rising gently toward the surface, toward light, toward rest. It emerges just as sailors have said, joining others, vanishing in formation, and you remain, floating in the quiet it left behind. The whispers beneath the surface linger long after the orb has gone. They are not shouts, not alarms, not cries. They are gentle murmurs, reminding you that the world is deeper than maps, older than records, and wider than our knowing. And in that reminder you find comfort. You close your eyes fully now. The ocean holds you. The whispers move around you. The mysteries rise and fall with the tides. And as you rest, you carry with you not the fear of what is unknown, but the peace of being part of it. And as you drift in this ocean of thought, you sense the surface above and the stars beyond it. The whispers beneath prepare you for the final reflection, the moment when all mysteries, sky and sea alike, weave together into silence. The night is quiet now. You have travelled through skies above Yemen, through hearings in solemn chambers, through memories carried by soldiers and sailors, and through archives hidden and revealed. And yet the story does not end. It rests softly in the unknown. The missile failed, the orb endured, and the mystery remains. You picture it again, the glowing sphere moving calmly through night, the missile striking but unable to harm it, debris trailing like sparks absorbed into silence. The image is steady, unshaken, unchanged. A mystery, and yet a comfort. Because sometimes the most soothing truths are the ones we cannot yet explain. Think of all that has unfolded across these nights of listening. The orb in Yemen, resilient against force. The red square at Vandenberg, hovering silently above missiles. The tic-tac rising from the sea, vanishing in harmony with others. The triangle above Langley, silent and immense. The whispers from Russia, of codes ignited, of disaster nearly born. The testimonies of witnesses carrying burdens yet refusing silence. Each story is a fragment, each story is incomplete, and yet, together, they form a rhythm, like waves, like breath, like the steady ticking of stars across the sky. The mystery lingers not because it is unsolved, but because it is alive. Like a song carried on wind, like light from distant stars, it continues even when we do not grasp its source. You close your eyes and imagine holding the mystery in your hands, not heavy, not sharp, but soft, like water cupped in your palms. It slips between fingers, yet its coolness remains. You cannot keep it, but you can feel it, and that feeling is enough. For years, governments have said, there is nothing to worry about, and yet behind closed doors, files were written, videos stored, and testimonies gathered. Witnesses were told to stay silent. Some records were destroyed. And still, the stories rose. They rose like the orb itself, untouched, unbroken, carried forward by those who refuse to forget. You breathe with them now. Inhale, exhale. Their courage lingers as much as the mystery itself. Veterans standing in hearings, voices calm but firm. Journalists tracing paper trails, sailors recounting lights over the sea. Each one has carried their truth despite the weight it placed upon them. And so the mystery is not only in the sky, it is also in us. Why do we look upward? Why do we wonder what drifts above clouds, what moves beneath oceans, and what glimmers beyond stars? Because mystery itself is part of who we are. It is the quiet pull that keeps us searching even as we rest. The orb that endured reminds us, not all that is struck is broken, not all that is tested is destroyed. Some mysteries, like some dreams, continue. You let this thought settle gently. Sleep is not about answers, it is about surrender, about drifting into a space where questions rest without resolution. And so the mystery lingers, not as a threat, not as a weight, but as a gentle presence, rocking you into stillness. You picture the Yemen Orb one last time. The missile glances away. The sphere continues. Debris trails like sparks caught in a tide. It drifts onwards, quiet, luminous, carrying its secret into night. And you drift with it. There is no end here, only continuation. Like the orb, you carry on, moving through silence, wrapped in calm. Mysteries are not walls, they are doorways. They open into wonder, into possibility, into dreams. And tonight, as you rest, you step through one. The missile failed, the orb endured, the questions remain, and yet that is enough. You're not here for certainty, you're here for rhythm, for the gentle cadence of voices, of testimonies, of stars and seas, for the comfort of knowing that the unknown is not an enemy, but a companion, quiet and patient. You breathe, inhale, exhale. The mystery that lingers is not here to wake you. It is here to soothe you. It cradles you like the ocean, holds you like the night sky, and surrounds you like air itself. And so, tonight ends not with answers, but with rest. The orb carries on, and so do you, into silence, into sleep, into dreams where mystery becomes wonder. Tomorrow may bring more questions, but for now, you drift.